Hi, Irina. I think I've met most of you at this point. Way excited to be here. When Shade said we have all these CMOs in one room that are talking B2B, I'm like, great, these are my people. I do B2C too, whatever B2Cs too. Well, 2 seconds on me. I'm originally from Ukraine. I came over as a refugee to the US, and I joke there's 2 lotteries in life, geography and your parents. I lost the geography lottery, but won the pennant lottery that took me to the right geography. Started my career in finance, a little bit from what you heard about lunch. I was one of those people on the private equity side doing investing for Apollo that really didn't appreciate how hard it is to drive business because it said it in Excel, and so clearly that should be pretty easy. Realized those aren't my people and not what I want to do, and moved over to the operations world. Sounds easier, but that was it. And Hootsuite is the second company I get to be the CEO at. And if you don't know Hootsuite, we are the largest social media management platform. And so we help enterprises figure out how to drive revenue and performance from social media. And we have about 100,000 customers and focused on middle market and enterprise.
Yeah, and I'm Alicia Alongi. I am the VP of Client Strategy at Zion. We are an agency based out of Phoenix, but we're pretty fully remote at this point. And I have been primarily in the startup world, heading up marketing on the B2B SaaS side, and then moved agency side, back agency side actually. I felt like on the brand side, I didn't have like a good idea of what was going on in the market. I love getting somebody's Google Analytics, like opening up a present to see like how it really is under the hood. And at Zion, I think one of the big reasons that brought me to our agency is, having worked at other agencies, then not being able to support the full revenue team. So, typical agencies, just the media part of things and kind of stop at the media KPIs and, would report on that, but it wasn't equally pipeline. And so we really look at everything from impression all the way down to revenue. So whether it is coaching a team of BDRs, talking to AEs, talking to the CRO, we're kind of full funnel, looking at everything that we're doing, again, all the way from impression to revenue. So I think so today, if we want to start.
Yeah.
Okay. Irina has some really good insights about the GenZ buyer and how much more important GenZ and millennials too, the digitally native buyers are. So some really good insights that I promised I would have shared.
Yeah, they're really great. Yeah,
You want to share those?
So I started this journey a few months ago, actually, on the GenZ buyer, and I came across these stats, which I don't know if some of you have seen, but average deal cycle time has gone up. Close rate is getting harder. The normal productivity from sales is going down, and so I got really curious, and then I came across this amazing stat, and it said that 75% of all decision makers starting in 2025 will be either Gen Z or millennials. And that blew my mind. And then I went and said, well, I'm a millennial. I understand these people. This is going to be so easy. So I thought, let me meet a few of these Gen Zer animals and see how similar we are. And after meeting 1 or 2 of them, I realized we are not the same person in any way. And so I went on this mission over the course of a few months, and I met with over 500 of them. And by the way, it's really hard to find them because you get a little creepy when you're trying to look for 20-year-olds to talk to you. But I found them. And I learned a few things. And it really came to me that this generation is a generation of contradictions. They grew up with a phone in their pocket, and they do not want to use it to talk to you. They don't want to answer your cold emails. So A+ for getting rid of the SDRs. But they don't want to answer your cold calls. They don't want your cold emails. They don't trust AI. They appreciate the productivity enhancement it can give them, but they don't like the artificial part. They want authentic intelligence. They want remote, but not fully remote. They want to go in, but not fully go in. They want to make money, but not enough that they have to work too much because travel is really important. They want to get promoted, but they want it to happen fast. And one of the things that really hit me, and I'm gonna share some of that, is they are materially going to be changing our entire B2B and overall buying journey. it is opposite of anything that we know. Our B2B SaaS playbooks and our B2B businesses and our B2C businesses got really built by boomers that then Gen X took and enhanced, that millennials kind of followed along. And Gen Z thinks about the business world in a completely different way, including with, for the first time ever, Google lost market share from Gen X to Gen Z, about 30%. Outside of ChatGPT's never happened. And so I'd love to share kind of some of my lessons and learnings, and it's changed how we operate at Hootsuite. We have this thing that is one of the more interesting modes on why I took the role, but we are 100% inbound business. To have it all come to you, we leverage obviously everything that you all do, but it is been really interesting in that how Gen Z buys is really similar to how they grew up. And so when I started going on this journey, a lot of the ways that what we use as fact is completely opposite or how they do their purchasing.
Yeah, and we were talking on Friday. I just got back from Forrester, and there was a session. Who was there? But and it was like something like OK Boomer, and it's the shifting buying committee in B2B, and it had like Gen Z or Gen X and Boomers kind of on one side, and then digitally native like millennials and Gen Z on the other. And like where you go to for information about the thing that you're looking to purchase. And number one for the digitally natives was like ChatGPT, essentially AI. Number two was referrals from people in their network. And then number three was social media. And like those three things on like the Gen X boomer side of the chart were like near the bottom, with like website being very high up on that side, where website was like very far down on the digitally native.
Yeah. And the three practicalities for many of your businesses with that shift is, they're not going to Google it. They're going to go search it on social. And what they're looking for, and I forgot who said it in the room, but they're making their decision off LinkedIn and Reddit and TikTok. And if their friend buys it, they buy it. I mean, the stats are kind of wild. They make their health decisions off of social media. Should they be? No, but they are. They're making financial decisions. So when they're now in a budget seat holder, one of the things that's going to impact is so much of the top of funnel is trying to get on this day one list. And by the time that they talk to a salesperson or interact with anybody from your company, they're 89% done with making a decision. So you're getting on their day one list too late in many cases on the current model, right? Because their day one list is actually in the research, because what they grew up on is the self-service generation. And so even though they're kind of known as the TikTok kind of 6-second attention span, they read on average 13 different forms of long-form content that they find on social in various places to educate themselves, right? It's this Netflix of I'll go search for it myself, and they will do almost anything to not talk to a person. Oh. Like they will go out of their way to avoid any of your human contact. And most of our businesses are in this like push pull, right? I'm going to aggressively attack you. Like you click here, I'm going to call you. If you put eyes on my website, I'll have an email too. If you, God forbid, interact with anything, I'm going to flood you with cold calls, right? And so I'm just going to be as aggressive as possible. And they're kind of more of the Bumble generation in that they're switching the order. They'll come to you when they're ready. Right. But if you're not on their research and where they're doing their self-service, you're not going to be even on the list for when they're going to go validate their decision that they've already made. And so where do they go? On social, they go and look where their peer group. So the tribe, their peer group matters a ton. And fun fact, any of your CEOs on social? Raise your hand. Any of you tracking how much pipeline you get off social? Nice. And so they are going to check out what the company stands for. Authenticity is huge. They don't know what your company or your leaders stand for. They will not purchase from you.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
So for G2 Crowd or Trust Radius or Glassdoor, are they using review sites to form an opinion?
Yeah.
And then validate it based on your values as an organization?
Yeah, like G2, like Reddit's also out of it. Like LinkedIn, obviously, yeah. Got it. And depends what on the retail consumer side, CPG side, like TikTok, a lot.
Yeah.
YouTube.
We're also seeing a really larger consideration set. So they're spending less time with the seller and they're reviewing a larger consideration set because they're using AI. so they can review. So you think it's reduced time. What a larger consideration set? It's in kind of double whammy.
And that's why, like, where you show up, another thing's a really great example. You have to be in all these different places that they're showing up, that people are probably talking about you that you don't necessarily control, which goes back to kind of the referral or the word of mouth. It's just really important to show up. And there's stats, and we've done a ton of this research, and I'm sure you've all seen it, but if they're following you on social, they're 2x likely to, purchase from you. If they're engaging with you and commenting, they're 79% more likely. Reps that use social are outperforming reps that don't. And so it's, and also not to mention all the stuff that's happening with AI from a marketing perspective, right? Like SEO is no longer the same. Yeah.
Can I just ask another question? Is the group of decision makers, are they tend to be the decision maker, or are other people influencers in that decision?
I feel like you're like cleaning me up over here.
Yeah, I'm just
no, and it's a really good point. I think the decision-making influence pie has just gotten wider. And so, I mean, we've all seen it, the number of people that now have to be part of the consensus to make a purchase on anything is just more than you would think. But what's happening, and I don't know how many of you do this in your teams, but a lot of times the really senior person will go and say, hey, to the Gen Zer, what do you think? And so even they might not hold the entire purse string on making the decision, they're the ones that probably come in with that list that you assess first, or the down selected list. And so they have a lot of influence on curating where in the direction you go.
Yeah, I mean, they're the end user usually, or the practitioner, 100%, right? And so it's something that they're already familiar with or comfortable with, right? And they're usually the ones too we've seen that are filling out the ultimate, like the demo form, right? But at that point, I think like Sixth Sense has a stat that like by the time they reach out for their, like 84% of the time they go with the first vendor they reach out to.
Yeah, well, because they've done the research, right? Misleading,
Exactly. Right. Which like, so we actually, like for one of our clients, our VDRs, that's like the first thing that they ask when they pick up the phone is, are we the first one that you talk to? And it's like correlated to closed win. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you say that one more time? So you're saying the correlation to closed win is based on where
89% I've done.
84, yeah, I think 84 is either 84 or 86% of the time the first vendor that they reach out to is the vendor that they choose.
Wow. Where?
They've already, confirmation bias that they already made up their minds.
Well, because they're doing it so much earlier, right? Again, because they're doing the research when you don't even know they're researching you. Because the normal process is you see them, you have a conversation, they come back to your site 12 times, they interact 7 to 8 times. There's this dance that happens, and they're not playing, they're not participating. They're in Netflix generate. They're self-service. So I'm going to go figure it out. I'm going to learn. I'm going to get on the day one list. I'm going to check with a few friends and what they think. I'm going to check with your content. Where are you? What are you doing? And by the time they call, their decision is made up. Which is hard because then that's why you have these longer sales cycles. That's why your close rates go down. It's like you see it in the impact in the numbers, but it's happening much, much higher up on them. Yeah.
I'm just curious, do you think the strategic implication is that B2B brands should be spending more on awareness and brand, or is it that there is almost like a demand, waterfall happening that the brands are currently blind to?
I think there's 3 things. One, and I don't know how controversial this is or not in this room, but I think brand is back. In this conversation of AI, one of the things that, and I don't know if you've seen a study, but Harvard did the longest study ever on humankind. They followed humans around for 70 years, and basically at the end of their life, they asked them, what is the thing that you value the most, regret the most? Give us knowledge on this life. And the number one thing that came back on the regrets were I didn't build enough relationships. On the things that brought them the most happiness was their relationships, right? Nobody said, I needed to work more. Right? We all can appreciate that. But that relationship mindset is the only kind of major differentiator you have for your brand. Are you building a relationship with them? Going back to what Gen Z cares about is advocacy. They want people that are authentic. And you saying your product is awesome, nice, but having somebody who works there saying it is way more believable. And then the second thing happening with AI, obviously, is, the agents will be talking to the agents. I forgot who was saying that. The only thing kind of have left is to build relationships. And it's happening higher in the funnel because they want to follow people that they think are interesting before they even make that decision. And then the last part, our metrics aren't designed for this new generation. And so we're measuring the opposite of things. And so most of our funnels are again at the top and you're following this kind of lead down. But if you're never seeing them here and they're just showing here, how do you attribute anything? And everyone can have whatever attribution debate they want, probably the wrong debate. And so even on our side, one of the things we're doing is completely rebuilding our inbound engine to minimize human contact. So how do we let them go through the whole process and sign, how do you get 200K deals throughout a human, which seems so backwards to us because how could you do that? But they'll call when they need you and the opportunity's there. But how do you completely redesign most of your marketing and sales and journeys so that they have an opportunity to reach out to you, but it's not a pull?
So I'm just curious, like from a self-service point of view, where I think a lot of companies in the marketing services and tech-enabled services focused on building self-serve a while back, and then you built it and they will come.
Yeah, and they never came in.
So do you feel that that's kind of back in vogue, where self-service will be a big driver of growth and where this generation is actually logging into multiple UIs?
I think self-service it's already doing it. I mean, you're seeing at large enterprises, even with deals. I think one of the stats that we were searching on the research side is there's this assumption, if it's under a $5,000 ACD deal, that self-service is great. But if it's more than, 10, we're going to need a person to talk to. It's too complicated. Yeah. They don't want to talk to people. I don't know how many of you have Gen Zers. And they don't. They call one, maybe two people they call on the phone. Their mom and their dad. And it's because mom and dad calls them.
So right, they hate.
This is not a thing like this, whatever you do.
Do we snap?
Yes, they love Snap. So it's interesting you say that. Like one of the insights that we started changing kind of how we operate, and one of the things we saw is like our email open rate is the same as everybody else's, whatever, 1 to 3%. Our DM rate was 70%. Wow. And so we went and productized it because we're like, okay, well, if it works for us, let's work for someone else. But it's very natural for them to open a DM. Like their email, I forgot who I was talking to, one of the number one courses in kind of helping, students get into college and become adults is how to use email. One of our support tickets that comes up at Hootsuite is when we have a new recruit class come in and there's like some Gen Zers, my email is broken. We're like, that's not a thing. And then we use that. It's because, anybody know why?
They don't know how to use it.
They go to the to thing and they go at. Stop.
Oh my gosh.
It's broken.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but this is, and somebody else said it before that, our CRMs, they're built on emails and telephone. Who are you going to call? They're not going to answer you, and they're not going to answer your emails. Like, that just goes into the abyss. So it's been wild to just
It's amazing.
understand their psychological behavior, too. But yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm curious to see what you think about the nature of the sales conversations, because in my experience, you call and the rep wants to do a whole lot of discovery and then come back with like a big presentation, and that's obviously not going to fly.
No.
So
Okay, call that.
if you maybe get like one conversation and they've already mostly made their decision of having a
I love that you said that. One of the things that keeps coming up in our research is they don't want to be sold to. They want to be in control. And so usually the seller, the minute they can, they're like, let me show you, let me do this, let me do this, let me do that. And it's, what questions do you have? Right? Or leading with, hey, here are some other, it's reverse research. So if you call, how does the seller do research on who's in your network? To basically say, hey, I saw that you follow so-and-so. They use us. Do you want me to show you what they like about what they use? And that referral point that somebody from your tribe uses you matters more than anything. We just did this thing where we put a case study up. We had the MBA as a customer. We did this case study, posted it on social media. It was like 2-minute video, put it on. And nobody clicked. It wasn't an engagement. We got good likes, whatever, a few million. But we all of a sudden got 3 big deals, each at $150,000 that we closed within 60 days. They didn't like they didn't like the post. They didn't engage with the post. There was nothing with the post. They saw it and they just reached out. And so our normal kind of stats of, well, this is what my conversion is. Cool. Most 92% of people on social media are lurkers. How many of you, well, this is a senior audience. How many of you actively post once a week? You make a post on social media. Come on, raise high and proud. How many of you post twice a week? Keep your hands up. How many of you post more than 3 times a week?
But can I just
And this is a very biased
I say
sample.
this, but also not your team, actually you writing the content.
Yeah, I assume you. Oh. Okay, let me ask it again. How many of you personally post once a week? Write it, originate it, post it. Keep your hands up. How many of you post twice a week? You are in the 1% of all of social media.
There's a few humans.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy, and it doesn't take a lot, and it's what they reference. It's where they go. Like it's the analogy. One of the things that I've seen is your CEO's posting is actually one of the number one leading. Yeah, great. Your CEO's posting is one of your highest leverage points for driving deals. They go and they check out your CEO's LinkedIn. Like that's just 100% guaranteed. And the things that turn them off is most CEOs post, let me tell you about my awesome product launch. Nobody cares. Let me tell you about the conference I spoke at. Still nobody cares. What is one authentic thing that they can say that helps them understand what you stand for? Because again, the best way to sell in this world is through advocacy. It's through your employees. We, I think I don't know where he went. He was in here, EY. We just started working with them a few months ago, and you all are really leaning in hard to the employee advocacy. They're getting 10,000 of their employees on a tool to basically help do the branding and the selling for them, because you all have all these employees. Coming from the brand handle is one thing. Coming from an employee handle that's personal to say, I love where I work, or we're doing this really awesome thing. And by the way, the algorithms are built that way from a social media perspective. So the likes, the looks, the extension you get is pretty powerful.
As a follow-up, do you see that there's any change because the consideration process is different? Do you see an increase in churn?
No, but I track, and it's hard. We do it with some of our customers because a lot of them don't connect to the CRM, so it's tougher for us to pull it. But when they allow us to do this, the rates on social-driven deals, the time to close is faster, the ACV is higher, and generally they churn less. If you have one bad experience on social, there's a 93% chance they will not work with you. In fact, they will go and be a detractor for your brand. Versus if they have a positive experience, you have them for life. And the only way to reverse the negative is time. Their expectation for you getting back to them is 30 minutes or less. And they post it on social. So you have to be everywhere. There's AI that helps you, obviously, but
Yes.
I had a quick question that on the server, Alicia, for you on the agency side, how do you feel like that change is manifesting as in kind of intermediary between clients activating and the kinds of platforms that Irina's hogging up?
Yeah, well, Irina was talking, one of our clients in the SaaS space, we have seen an uptick in visits of prospects to their developers subdomain, where all of their very technical documentation lives, because for the reasons that Irina said, because people, especially Gen Z millennials, want to is this integration going to work? What is it going to look like? How much time am I going to, is it really going to function the way that I think it's, and they don't want to hear that from a salesperson. They want to go discover that as deeply as they want to for themselves. So we're seeing a big uptick, and for the prospects that do visit that technical resource documentation, we see a faster time to close too. So, we're looking at how can we provide, they're kind of reskinning their UI so that they can, put demos on demo and all over, right? So that people can, and even toying with the idea of a product-led growth strategy, maybe we give this away for free as a loss leader, get it installed, and then we can start to grow within that organization. So we're, making sure that we're trying to future-proof as much as we can for the way that this generation wants to buy.
So people say everything's easy anyway. You need the documentation.
Right. I mean, right. Everybody bought something that they thought was going to be a jiffy to set up, and it's 6 months later, you're still working on implementation.
one of the observations I have is you're talking about the fact that a few younger people don't want to talk to people. I agree, but I think it's also a complete rejection of the complexity that we've been foisting on customers, particularly in the D2C world. Like, there's just an absolute rejection. They've got this is the group that's grown up with convenience, which I don't think we talk about that enough. Like, what's happened in the last few years, we've started with this convenience, this requirement for convenience has just become this human desire that's almost beyond everything else. Like, I think that's growing up with Amazon, right?
Totally. And we see that in the research. They want things in 3 clicks or
So I think B2B struggles from, oh my God, you're not telling me. I mean, we all see it with the price, one package, here's the price, the middle package, and then we go enterprise, call us. I think there's a lot of rejection, but like, call you for what? Like, tell me what the price is. Well, there's just a complete rejection of complexity.
Totally. And by the way, we're on the same journey. We're not perfect. And it's 2 separate things. We, on one hand, know how to communicate to using social media, but on the other hand, our own sales process, we're changing it live as well.
Fair question. How are they going to handle internal things like, buy some software that costs more than $1 that legal usually gets involved paying the size of the company. It's a wrestling match internally. And that's just part of it. Could be compliance and other things. How are they going to handle that? They're part of their.
Like following the internal bureaucracy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if they can't send an email with the legal.
Yeah. I mean, they'll do it. It's just slower. They'll find out ways to get it right. Like they will, like one of the things, and again, from just our Gen Z research, they'll go check the FAQs first. They'll go check all of your standard, they'll put their bots to work to figure out how to do it internally, if you have any that are available to them. But they will work really hard to try to avoid having to get on the phone with a legal person or whoever else.
Could be good, but.
All right.